Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, what is up, Lock Shoppers? Welcome to the program. Huss and P. Gregoire with you today. Dusty making his way down, I believe, going to Calgary and then BC. Call a little preseason CFL action. Speaking of CFL, next week, we will have a whole bunch of props to get to before we kick off here in the Peg on Thursday night in a Grey Cup rematch between the Bombers and the Montreal Alouettes. Of course, the Cup odds are up right now. Bombers are the favorite, but we'll have plenty of preseason CFL shop talk on the Lock Shop coming up next week. We are going to keep an eye on the RBC Canadian Open and our wagers throughout today's show before my guest shows up there with Jake Boland Moss tomorrow. By the way, follow the Coolbet Canada Twitter, Insta, TikTok. Some great content from JBM coming out from our National Open right now. And Patty, great to see you. And listen, we'll get into some golf and a bunch of other things, but how about that hockey game last night? We have a series.
Do we ever? And the big boys came to play. Darnell Nurse came to play. And if you listen to the postgame, Connor Brown, who also came to play, made sure everyone in that media scrum knew that Darnell Nurse came to play. So this is a motivated group. This is a group that might say on the outside, we're not listening to outside of this locker room. It's just noise. That's proof right there. They're using that as motivation, and that looked exactly like a motivated group, to say the least. That's a massive, massive victory for the Oilers.
Well, and I mean, we'll get to exactly how it all played out, but I mean, they simply had to have it. We said yesterday in the Lock Shop, and you know, I mean, we talked about all the lineup changes yesterday on the program that the Oilers met, and it did seem to me like they were pressing the panic button, figuratively, I guess. But as we talked about yesterday, you can change the fourth line, the sixth defenseman, all you want. This game and this series was going to turn in the Oilers' favor if their best players were the best players on the ice last night. And I'll be honest, it didn't look that way when they dropped the puck. The complete opposite of game number 3, where it was all Oilers in the first period. The Oilers, I don't think, got a shot on net until they were down 2-0, Pat, and it looked like this could be curtains for the series. But credit to Edmonton, they did not wait like Dallas did until the first intermission to get themselves together. You could really feel that sense of urgency push the team forward in the first period. And listen, Dallas was lucky not to be down going into the first period. And credit to the Oilers, we said, when are they going to get that full 60-minute effort? Maybe not a full 60 because they didn't start particularly well. But second period, and especially the third period, they were clearly the better team and had Dallas looking like a shell of themselves at their best, which we have seen at times in this series.
Well, I said it last night, this Dallas team, despite how good they have looked, there have been times where they've looked, out of sorts and shell-shocked. But the good thing about this group is the ability that Pete DeBoer and this team has to shake off bad losses. And when they have looked down, expect to bounce back. And I know everyone in that locker room and hopefully in this fan base realize that you're not getting that same effort from this Dallas Stars team next game. They're going to be coming out firing. And I think, as we all expected, these two series are going long. We might see 2 Game 7s. I think this is a heavyweight bout. And, the Oilers just won another round by, unanimous decision. But the bell is sound. Both fighters are in the corner. They're getting talked to by the cornermen, and they're going to be coming out next game swinging once again.
Well, and both offenses at times have been throwing haymakers. And listen, I thought that the way the Oilers found themselves in that first period and turned the game around, if they win this series, that will be where this entire series in the best of 7 turn, because I'm sure you, like many people, were watching this game saw how good Dallas looked coming out, saw the first goal go in again, saw them get a fortunate one bouncing off Darnell Nurse, and you're thinking, I mean, this is all a disastrous start for Edmonton. And then whether we're talking about Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and a number of other guys that stepped up their game as well. Corey Perry getting on the score sheet as well. The much maligned Darnell Nurse having arguably his best game of the playoffs. It was time for everybody to step up, and the Oilers did that. And, we are looking at what should be a great series. Like, selfishly, having no skin in the game outside of bets, these series, more so than the third round in recent years, we've got the 4 best teams right now in the NHL playing for a chance at hockey's holy grail. Both series are 2-2. Every single team has, I think they feel like, a great shot to not only advance, but win the whole thing. And we should be seeing 2 long series. The conference finals recently have not been that exciting. I mean, poor Carolina seemed to get there every year and get swept in 4 games. But this is going to the way we thought before the series even started. And I have to tell you, looking at that partner parlay that we threw out at the beginning of last week before the series started, we are on the verge of cashing that. Again, if you missed that one, it was simply a bet on 2 great series over 12.5 total games. We're guaranteed of getting 12 right now, Pat. And in some ways, the game 5 scenario won't really matter as long as one of the 2 teams that are down 3-2 after game 5 can win game 6. We'll be cashing that one. And most importantly for hockey fans, we'll be getting game 7 action with a trip to the Cup final on the line.
I'm so glad you brought up, well, first and foremost, great bet there. I mean, if you have no rooting interest in either of these series, you might as well have rode with that bet. But
cheer for 7.
Exactly. Cheer for 7. And let's be honest, we talked about, we had a feeling that these 2 series, maybe not 7, but at least 6, just the way that things were rolling. Although in this part of the country, boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, there was a lot of people already writing off Edmonton coming into this series just with how good Dallas looked, which I think is absolutely crazy to think that. And we're seeing it here on display. Does Dallas end up winning this series? There's definitely a possibility. We'll actually go over it by looking at the sports book. They still seem to think that Dallas should be winning this series. We'll get to those in just a second with the series prices, because I kind of was shocked with the number. But you brought up a great point. This NHL playoffs has kind of resembled more of what we've seen from the NBA playoffs over the last few years. No real crazy upsets in round 1, which kind of was, let's be honest, round 1 usually is what everyone loves about the NHL playoffs. It's guys are going out there, they're killing each other every night. We're seeing overtime, double overtime. It's back-to-back crazy hockey. It's, low seeds knocking out, 1 seeds. Didn't really get that in round 1. A lot of quick work. There were some longer series, but for the most part, most of the higher seeds ended up winning. Round 2, a little more competitive, a little better. But the fact that, arguably the best 4 teams remain have provided us probably the best conference finals that we are going to see in recent memory. And as long as these teams don't beat each other up too much, which we're not quite seeing right now, we could be poised for a really great Stanley Cup final as well.
I think that no matter what, I mean, whether it's the Rangers or the Panthers that get through the East, and whether it's Dallas or Edmonton, I think we're going to be set up for a phenomenal final with 2 teams that absolutely deserve to be there. I mean, listen, all 4 of these teams have looked great. I think we could certainly argue that the Oilers, of all of the teams, well, certainly as opposed to Dallas, has had maybe an easier path to this point. But if you beat the Dallas Stars in a best of 7, you are absolutely the worthy representative of the West. And, when you look at the other side of things, it was Florida and it was the Rangers that sort of had pretty nice first round matchups. I mean, we talked about those 2 weakest teams being in, at that point, second in the Metropolitan, for Carolina actually that went in. The Panthers and their path maybe a little bit more difficult. But the bottom line was the bottom of the East, not quite where the West was.
No,
and Dallas, to their credit, I mean, Dallas, if the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup, you'll have the argument that this is the toughest road maybe any team has ever had to run the gauntlet to win. The defending champion Golden Knights in round one, and let's not forget, they lost the first 2 games at home, had to battle back, win that game, win that series in 7. And then you have to go through the previous champion, the Colorado Avalanche, who were looking so good. Oh, and then who's waiting in the 3rd round? The best player in the world, Connor McDavid, and the Edmonton Oilers. Overall, I just have to say that the crowd last night was awesome. And I'll give Edmonton fans, a stick tap, because you could feel the air come out of that building very early with that horrible start the Oilers had in those 2 goals going in early. And remember, about midway through the first period, you could feel the crowd chanting, "Let's go Oilers," doing everything they could to give their team some energy. And to be honest, the team reacted to that. And that first period turnaround, Pat, in a way, I think of game 3, where the Stars were garbage in the first period. The Oilers looked great. They went to the dressing room, came out, and it was the complete opposite. The Oilers weren't that engaged, and next thing you know, it's 3-2 for the Dallas Stars. That happened, but over the course of 1 period instead of 2 last night, where it was all Dallas to start, and then, as we mentioned, the Oilers didn't wait for the intermission. They completely flipped that game, and to their credit, continued with their foot on the gas the rest of the way. When you think about it, not only did they win, and they had to have a win, but I think the way that they won and the way they played in the 3rd period with the game on the line, just huge for Edmonton moving forward. They've already won a game in Dallas. I kind of thought they deserved to win game 2, to be honest, in Dallas as well. So as much as all of you were losing your minds after game 3, and I listened to the post-game show with Tom Gazzola, what a 180 right now with some deserved and earned confidence going into Dallas for what is always an incredibly crucial 5th game of the series.
We want the cup chants last night ringing down at the Raj. It was awesome here. I know there's some chatter in the chat right now about some of the hardest roads to Stanley Cup. The one that came to mind for me was when the LA Kings won as an 8 seed. But looking back, it's remarkable to think about. They just steamrolled through everyone.
Yeah.
They knock off Vancouver, the number 1 seed, 4-1. Then they take down St. Louis, who was the 2 seed, in a sweep. Knock off Phoenix, who's the 3rd seed, 4-1. And then beat Jersey, who was the 6th seed in the East, 4-2. That was their most competitive series. Like that playoff, I guess by seeding standpoint, maybe that's more impressive than what than what Dallas maybe could potentially do here. But they steamrolled everyone. That Phoenix team, were they really that good? That Jersey team kind of probably wasn't really even the best team in the East here. I think there is a legitimate argument that if Dallas is to get here, and I think if Dallas does lose, because I can't remember who said it in the chat, they look tired, and maybe they're already starting to get fatigued here because it's been such a tough road to get to the conference finals.
Well, and that's why the Oilers coming back and winning that game last night was so huge. Listen, if Dallas is up 3-1 heading back home, I think the vibes would be so opposite on both sides, and knowing how important it would be for them to, smell blood in the water and take care of it in 5.
Yep.
They're buckling up now for what is probably a series that's probably going to go the distance. And you're right. The fact that now listen, the Oilers didn't do themselves any favors, and they had to go a full 7 with the Vancouver Canucks in the 2nd round. But there is an element of attrition to this series, to the playoffs in general. But the Oilers didn't show any of it last night. Just an awesome comeback. Big win for everyone who had faith and had them at minus 135 on the money line. And Pat, while we look at the series prices, I said yesterday, if you have confidence that the Oilers can win that game last night and get this thing to a best of 3, plus 210 for the series price looked pretty damn good last night. And everyone that had the faith and jumped on that is feeling pretty good about themselves because no surprise, this series is close to a pick'em. Dallas gets a bit of a nod because they've got 2 games of the 3 remaining in Dallas. But the Dallas Stars are minus 120 and the Edmonton Oilers even money now to make it to the Cup final, considering that they were plus 210 yesterday. It just shows what a massive swing that win was last night.
Yeah, just huge. I thought, Dallas, you bring up a great point. I guess it's the home ice factor, them getting the number at minus 120. I thought it was going to be closer to a pick'em, but you said it best. I listened to you. I bet it at that price because I didn't think we were going to get a better price if Edmonton was going to win. I mean, still, to get them to win this series at plus 100, if you missed out on it yesterday, probably a good chance that, not a bad bet if you do want to take them. If they lose, the number probably does go back up, but not to where we saw it before. I really don't think it ever, unless they are to go down 2 games, and find themselves, in an elimination game in game 6. Maybe the number gets back up there, probably gets back up to there. But I don't think it gets to that point. Like, I think this thing goes 7, and I think it's a back and forth seesaw battle between these 2 teams.
Yeah, you know what? I guess just looking ahead, if the Oilers were to lose game 5 and came back home in game 6, they'd be a favorite again in the game, like probably around what it was yesterday, a minus 130 or so. And then you're looking at being a slight underdog, probably like they are a plus 109. I mean, you put those together, minus 109 and something like that, you're probably looking at a bigger number than plus 210 just because you have no wiggle room.
No.
But again, a lot different betting a team down 3-2 than is down 3-1 with the opportunity of another game at home last night. So that's where things stand right now. The odds for the game, and Iwanek and I will really chop this up tomorrow and get more into game 5 on tomorrow's Lock Shop. Oilers plus 109, Dallas Stars minus 128 for game 5. And as I mentioned, the series price right now, Dallas minus 120 and the Oilers even money, which brings us to tonight. Game 5 between the Rangers and the Panthers. This has been a crazy series, Pat. It has been so incredibly tight. The last 3 games all going to overtime. I think you could argue that the Panthers have been the better team overall in this series, but not good enough to be up 3-1. And we've got a best of 3. And let's not forget, the New York Rangers earned home ice. They've been very good on home ice so far in these playoffs. They are once again a plus money underdog at home tonight against the Florida Panthers. But the Panthers do have some momentum coming in from really surviving those games at home, losing the first one in OT, finding a way to win the second one. You know that team has a lot of confidence of playing home or on the road. And, well, the books like them all along, much like they like Carolina against the Rangers. That didn't work out. Fascinating matchup tonight in a game that, what's the number? 70+% of the teams that win game 5 in a 2-2 series move on. Huge opportunity for the Panthers. They got to get it done on the road. And the Rangers, they would have taken 2-2 with games 5 and 7 at MSG if you told them at the start of the series.
Yeah, just to look back under the curtain, under the hood here, not only does the book like the Panthers, the public loves the Panthers. 87% of the money at Coolbet. 87% of the tickets. 80. I was right first. 87% of the money on the Panthers, and don't have the percentage here, but I'd say about, not a numbers guy, but about 75% of the actual tickets themselves are on the Florida Panthers to win. So I think a lot of the momentum's on their side. The number being under that 130, around that 125. A lot of people like that sweet spot when dealing with money lines. Probably looks good in a parlay as well. So, for me, I think, we talked about it yesterday, maybe, was it? Or it might have even been before we started the show the other day. This series here, it just seems like you just can't get a read on. When you feel like one team's got things figured out, it's the other team that comes out with a win. I can't get my finger on this series. The other series we talked about it, we feel great about these spots. This feels like a spot for the Panthers, but it seems like the Rangers, every time everyone starts to believing in this Panthers group again, it's the Rangers who steal one. So with that being said, I think I stay away from either side here. And I don't love the number at minus 134, but I like under 5.5. With the way that Shesterkin's been playing, I think he's the heartbeat of this team. I think Bobrovsky has to be good here as well because we've seen a pushback from the Rangers as well. This total has hit the under in 3 of the 4 games so far as well. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a tighter contested game. Teams are going to lock it down a little more defensively. So I like the under at 5.5. I even debated, Huss, and I hate playing whole numbers, but to get a better number, if you go with the 5, so there is a possibility of a push to get your money back. But let's say it is a 2-1 game. You could possibly get that plus 131. I just don't know if it's worth it playing the whole number. Probably go with minus 134 and then play my luck with a couple other props, which I do really like, which I'll probably go back to a well on a few that worked really nicely for us last time around.
Yeah, the 4.5 under is plus 195, although I think you do want that push, if it is 2-2 and it goes to OT to at least hold it down. But I think there'll probably be a lot of action on that under. Part of me thinks that we're due for some goals. I mean, in the game that the Rangers won 5-4, that was the only time they'd won in their last 17 in the playoffs when giving up 4 or more. So we know what the Rangers' plan is. Stay tight, let their goalie do their job, and make the most of their opportunities. The Panthers can beat you in a bunch of different ways, though. I mean, they can win 6-4. They can also win 2-1. But listen, I think these series, you can make an argument, as I said, that the team that's kind of deserved to win has not won in most cases so far in this series. And I'm kind of feeling like we're just doing a series of coin flips here. And if that's the case, you got a team that's been close. You got a team that's at home. You got a team that is plus money. And I think that you could certainly make an argument for the Rangers. But I think gun to my head for this game tonight, I think Florida might be the play and at minus 125. But let's get into the props because this is kind of where we were at before. I want to start off with the shot props because, we were so damn close with the with Matthew Tkachuk. And the Tkachuk number's gone up a little bit, plus 115 on over 3.5. And the Lafreniere, which helped us last time, still at even money at over 2.5. And with the run that he's on, the goals that he's scored, he's got to keep shooting the puck. Definitely over 2.5 for Lafreniere, as he's been really breaking out so far offensively in this series. And you can't score if you don't shoot.
Yeah, this you got to ride the big dogs. And although I said I kind of agree with you, take the money with the Rangers. I do agree. Gun to head. If you had to make a pick, you got to go with the Florida Panthers here. So with that being said, we talked about that big spot guy, Carter versus Swaggy, and I think he comes up big again. Once again, his shot total's at 3.5. He's hit this in 3 of the 4 games in this series so far. If you date back to his last 6, he's hit it in 4. And when he has hit it, it's not just been he's barely gotten over the 4. We've seen him with 5 shots. We've seen him with 6, 7. I think you're right. I do see a lot of shots coming his way. I like that. Going through some of the other shots, there's a lot of plus money on a lot of these. There's also a lot of, which is kind of surprising, a Chris Kreider, not at plus money, but almost at even money. For him, over 2.5 at minus 104. You already mentioned the Tkachuk number. Sam Reinhart for 4 shots at plus 125. I know that's a lot of shots, but that's a guy who's not afraid to wield the biscuit and at plus 125, it's almost worth a sprinkle. Some really, really interesting numbers here for this one. And again, another one that jumps out to me, and I'm probably going to, don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I love him at his point total last game, and I love him at his shot again. The fact we're getting Lafreniere at plus 100, we're getting even frickin' money on him to get 3 shots. The way that he has been playing, just doesn't make sense to me. So I think that's going to be my best bet for this game. And I said I wouldn't get ahead of myself, but I will get ahead of myself because the line could possibly move, and I am shocked. I am shocked that it's only at minus 110. But Lafreniere to get a point at minus 110, also going to be going on my bet card.
What do we think about a shot prop, a parlay? We go with Lafreniere at over 2.5 at even money. We'll go Verhaeghe over 3.5 at plus 105. And if we want to add a third one in, Vlad Tarasenko's total is 1.5 at minus 130. He had 5 shots on goal in the last game, to lead Florida. I mean, that one just sort of stands out to me because, again, we're only talking about getting 2 shots on net. He's been playing with some good players. He'll see some power play time. And let's face it, why is Vladimir Tarasenko there? It's to score a few big goals when they need him right now. So I don't mind the 1.5 over for Tarasenko along with those others, unless there's some, listen, Sam Bennett for 3 shots is plus 132. Just looking at where was Sam Bennett last game. He had 2 in the last game. I mean, the guys that really stood out last game, Barkov at 4, Rodriguez at 3, Tarasenko at 5, Tkachuk at 3, as we unfortunately know he did not get to 4. Oh. And then Verhaeghe at 4. I'm just looking at Verhaeghe's, let's see, in his last, he's gone 4-7-2-5-2 so far in this series. So over the 3.5 in 3 of the 5 games. And hey, the bigger the game, the more impactful he seems to be. And you don't get much bigger than a game 5.
Yeah, 4. I mentioned that 4 of his last 6 as well, if you go back to last series. So I'm fine. Do we want to do that? Do we want to go over Swaggy over 3.5, Laffy over 2.5, Tarasenko over 1.5?
Yeah, I mean, Tarasenko's done it in both of the last 2 games. I mean, it's 5-2-1-1-2. But why don't we roll with that? If you put it in, it's like plus 625. So we'll probably be looking at somewhere 650 to 7-1 right now, just on a straight shot prop. And we can just basically be watching the game tonight, hoping for shots on goal from 3 particular players.
Yeah, and I love it too. It's a 2, 3, and a 4. So it's not like we're all hoping for 3. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say, folks, don't bet the shots, because that is probably one of the best exclusives going. Probably has one of the best hit rates of all the reoccurring exclusives, which maybe at some point we can rattle through some of those exclusives because there are some good ones. They're not up. Actually, they might not be up by the time this program is done. Now that I say that, I think the fellows are just starting to work on it, but we'll make sure we tweet those out. But this one here will be in the exclusive tab, no doubt about that. I like it. I think this one's a really good one, especially considering I'm not going to bet a side. I've already locked in that under, and I can still cheer for shots, and just hopefully not too many of them go on the back of the net.
That's the exactly. That's the plan. That is the plan. So we'll lock that in. Lafreniere over 2.5, Verhaeghe over 3.5, Tarasenko over 1.5. We'll put those together. That'll be up a little later on in the lock shop section in the Coolbet exclusives. And while you're there, make sure to check out all the other exclusive, the boosted odds parlays and whatnot that we've got for tonight's game. Listen, before we talk a little golf and of course some hoops, let me quickly let you guys know about the key word right now, because as you all know, Edmonton Sports Talk is underway with the $100,000 hole-in-one contest presented by Golf Town. Today's key word is Hovland, as in Patty's guy, Vic Hovland, who was right there in the PGA. But Hovland is today's keyword. Text it in to 780-218-9999. Again, that's 780-218-9999. Text in Hovland for your chance to qualify for the $100,000 hole-in-one presented by Golf Town. Speaking of golf, have you touched base with Jake today? Have you talked to him? How's he enjoying it? Yesterday, practice rounds, Pro-Am, I guess, probably just getting into the mix of things. And then today it's the real deal. Is he staying out there the whole weekend or going back and forth to the city?
Yeah, no, he's staying. The traffic is an absolute nightmare getting out to the Hammer. So he's staying there. We actually had a few of the fellows out there. The Shane Train's out there. Andrew's out there as well. Yesterday it was just Jake doing some content with Adam Svensson, but they got there bright and early because they were there pretty much as I would say almost as soon as the gates opened up, because they were there for opening tee for Svenny. I think his tee time was like 7:15 or something like that. So they were there early. A little bit of an up and down round for our guy Svenny. I think he finished at 2 over. Taylor Pendrith was 2 over through 9 in that featured group. So I almost got to see every single shot watching on TSN this morning. I might as well have been on the grounds at Hamilton Golf and Country Club because I was, he is in that featured group with Taylor and with Rory, but he started to heat up on the back. He finished the day at 1 over, and that just goes to show you, Huss, what a win can do for the psyche of a golfer. In weeks past, in years past, I tell you, with Taylor, if he would have started out like that, and I'm not trying to say he's not a grinder because he is an absolute grinder. I feel like it would have been a lot more challenging for him to get off the mat after being 3 over at some points, and for him to all the way grind it back to that birdie. Like, that just goes to show you the mental toughness. Him playing alongside Rory and Nick Taylor, the defending champ, that big crowd surrounding him. The bright lights didn't get to him. And tomorrow, I know the crowd's going to be even bigger, but I'm expecting a big, big day from Pendy. This course, us, and we should have remembered from back in 2019 because the scores weren't crazy. Like, a lot of these guys are really struggling with these greens. A lot of elevated greens, a lot of if you don't put it in the right spot, you're rolling right off the green. So I think obviously we saw Sam Burns with a big number to start things off, but I don't think we're going to be seeing the winner at like -25, -22. Like, I think we see mid to low teens winning this thing off, and we're hoping a Canadian can hang around. Right now, Mike Weir, believe it or not, is sniffing around as the low Canadian, which you absolutely love to see. I did say it was going to be a random Canadian on day one. I didn't think the random Canadian was going to be the Canadian with the lone major victory.
Well, and the guy that was the 1,000-to-1 to win the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of said, can you imagine? I'm just looking at Pendy's round today, and he started on the back. He got to 1 under out on his 3rd hole. Then bogeyed 3 of his next 4, kind of put 3 pars together, and then bogeyed his 11th too. He was 3 over after 11.
Yeah.
Then went birdie, 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 gave 1 back on 6 with a bogey, went par, and played the final 2 holes. I'm just diving in. He put his second shot to about a foot, it looked like, on 9. So he's got some real momentum getting back to 1 under par.
Go to Jake Bolamas's Twitter. He put out a video. He was standing right at the green. Great shot. You could see, as he likes to call it, golf shot Taylor Pendrith. It was a golf shot. And that just goes to show you the stones this guy has. That and that win, you just need 1, and it just builds so much confidence. So I know they're sticking around. I think they went over to the range to see how the boys were doing. And now I think they're heading back out. I believe the Thigala group was a group of interest, and I think even that Batia group as well was someone that they were looking after. Maybe it was just me saying, like, hey, can you guys hang around? Those guys, I got money on them, give them some positive vibes. But Akshay, our guy Akshay is 1 under right now through 3. And I don't know if you saw on his Instagram, he put G Money on his wrist, so he's playing for his buddy Grayson Murray in memory of him. So
Yeah,
I know they were buddies. So it was actually Sahith Thagala has a mental health awareness badge on his hat today. So a lot of guys, playing with heavy hearts, but playing for their buddy Grayson this week.
Yeah, I mean, just what a horrible tragedy. With Grayson, and I mean that's rocked the entire, not just golf, but I think sports overall for it to happen the way that it did. But the tour moves on, and listen, so far from the morning round, Sean O'Hare and a guy we didn't talk a lot about at 25-1, but sort of mentioned we weren't really on him. Sam Burns, what a opening round for Burnsy. So they're both in at 63. Ryan Fox, who's had a great season, I should say, he's at 5 under, playing the 18th hole. And then there's Mr. McIlroy and Rory. You mentioned even on the front 9. He turned it up on the back with 4 birdies. He is in at 4 under. But really 3 under par gets you a T5 right now. Number of guys, including Joel Damon, Ryan Palmer, and Aaron Rai. Rai went out. We talked a lot about him on the preview show yesterday. He birdied the first 2 holes. He's 3 under through 6, as is Ryan Palmer. And then you mentioned it. How about Mike Weir? Mike Weir, the old veteran, and man, he was all over the place.
Yeah.
Birdie, bogey, par, double, birdie, par, birdie. One more bogey on the way out, and gets in with 2 under par. Good chance for Mike Weir after that opening round to be there on the weekend and make the cut. And we're going to get to the rest of these Canadians because, again, I'm also on that over 7.5. A big part of that is going to be what happens this afternoon, as well as where this cut line projects to be. We really won't know that as much until you guys are there tomorrow. But Tommy Ladd, 2 under through 4. Nice start for him. Other guys in the 2 under group, Nikolai Højgaard. We mentioned Tommy Fleetwood, and then Killer Keith, Kashmir Keith, if you will. He's 1 under along with Pendy. Another Canadian, Will Bateman, is 1 under playing the 17th hole. You'll like to see that. And let's continue down. Sahith, 1 under through 4. He's just going off this afternoon. Our guy Akshay, he's 1 under on the 4th hole. David Hearn's 1 under through 2. But a lot of these afternoon rounds sort of going up. As far as guys that maybe didn't pop like we thought would, Alex Noren with a pretty pedestrian even par first round, Pat.
That's okay. We just need him top 20. We just need him top 20.
He'll be around there. And of course, one of my favorites, Tom Kim, he's in at 70 and even par as well. As far as the rest of the Canadians, Mac Hughes, he's just teed off. Adam Hadwin is just teed off along with Shane Lowry. I think those guys might all be playing together, which would be a great group to follow on the tube this afternoon. Other Canadians, Corey Connors, 1 over through 4. He's just started. Amateur Ashton McCullough, 1 over 71. Very much putting himself in the mix with a good round yesterday. Could be there. Svensson, 2 over. Nick Taylor, 2 over. Roger Sloan, 2 over. And then a number of other guys that are just finishing up. Michael Blair, Stuart McDonald, Jarrett Dutois at 2 over. Final tee times include a few Canadians. Etienne Papineau still has to go out. Amateur Justin Matthews. And then the final 2 groups are all Canadians, including the guy we're following here, plus 110 to make the cut, our guy Aaron Cockrell. So a bunch of Canadians at the end as well. And Pat, you don't need to win the tournament today, but like all of these Canadians, particularly that are hoping they can be there on the weekend, you just can't blow up today. You need to give yourself an opportunity to be there tomorrow, make it through the cut line, and then see what happens on Saturday and Sunday in your National Open.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't believe we got to do this. There is someone at the door. I will be back because I have a couple of thoughts here. I'll be like less than a minute.
No problem. No problem. Let me see what's going on in chat. See, the Duck Dad is Rod Z's got one for us today. Detroit -1.5. Mets and the New York Rangers 3-teamer. That's at 10-1. I don't mind that. Had a nice one yesterday. I see Zulu's hitting the Royals. Seth Lugo, automatic. Like, how are we getting +115 on Kansas City yesterday? I don't know. But did a little Jays money line and Royals. Run line for the Jays, money line for the Royals, and cashed that one at better than 3-1 yesterday as well. Zulu is looking at Royals, Rays run line -1.5, and Brewers. And I see Duck Dad Brewers just put another up and got the lead. And I see we've got some fun, the odd troll popping into the chat. I see, guys. Duck Dad mentioning that Dusty's hotline of the day today from the morning show was the Panthers money line. Kind of do feel the Panthers as well coming up tonight. And it's going to be a great game. But as I say, we're going to be focusing on those shot props when we make that happen. Let me quickly just touch on this hoops tonight, folks. What do you think? Can the T-Wolves get this thing back to Dallas for Game 5 or for what would be Game 6? It's funny how the odds in that series have switched. The T-Wolves now just only +395. Dallas still -556 in that series price. And we mentioned that you could get the Mavs after being up 3-0 at +180 to win the NBA championship. Dallas now +225. The Celtics number hasn't changed. It seems like they're locked in at -233. But a lot of people think that the T-Wolves still have some life yet. They're playing with house money. Everyone wrote them off already, Pat. Interesting to see what happens tonight. They're a 5-point favorite, a -189 on the money line at home to see if they can get this series back to Dallas.
Yeah, playing with house money, no doubt about that. I want to pull up the series price. I for sure think they can win. I don't know, though, if they can get all the way back and win the series, though. We've never, I don't think we've ever seen that in the NBA. We've seen down 3-1. I don't know if we've ever seen the true gentleman sweep. So just looking at there isn't a total games, which maybe I'll have to see if we can get that up here for this series, because I would love to bet on it to just go to 7. But the Mavs to win 4-1, which would essentially be tonight, which would make sense because for them to win right now, it's +158. To win outright, it's 140 on the series price. To Dallas to win next game, it's +160. Minnesota, though, to win in Game 7, +375. But then Dallas to win in 7. Believe it or not, that is the least likely that is to happen. So the bookmakers basically saying if Minnesota can force 7, this one is going to be for Minnesota. So I'll talk to our odds makers. We'll see if we can get a total price on the amount of games in that one. Quickly, before I sprinted down how to get a package, had to sign for something. So I'm going to have a little discussion with my fiance to see what she ordered, because obviously it's pretty expensive if a signature had to be signed for it. So, but on another note, if you might remember the name Sean O'Hare, this guy won the Canadian Open back in 2011 at Shaughnessy Golf and Country Club.
One time it wasn't in Ontario.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we got to talk about, I know we don't have enough time today. We got to talk about how they need to spread this event around. And I'm Mr. Ontario. I'm Mr. GTA. I think it needs to happen. But Sean O'Hare, so he's a past champion of this event. He wasn't even supposed to be in this tournament this week. He was on standby. He was a replacement. I can't remember who withdrew this week, but they withdrew. He pops in, and now all of a sudden he's the clubhouse leader with Sam Burns. So what a story that could be. I would love to see what the odds probably minus 1,000 for over 2.5 times we see clips from him winning the 2011 Canadian Open. We're going to be seeing that all weekend long. We're going to be hearing the broadcast talk about it a lot, but man, oh man. And in that very tournament, that was the first time we really started to hear about Adam Hadwin. He came in fourth. That was really his true coming out party that week. Actually, now that I'm saying this story again, I'm pretty sure they were talking about this on the Pat Mayo Experience this week on one of his shows, because this situation certainly sounds really familiar. Of course, I remember it in 2011, but I'm pretty sure they were even talking about it this week, about that exact situation.
Because Cam, God bless him, Cam Stewart, the raging redhead, was bitching that, it's just basically the GTA Open. Why don't they ever move it? And they mentioned it was in Shaughnessy and talked about Sean O'Hare. So, I mean, we're going to be all over this afternoon on Winnipeg Sports Talk, keeping an eye on the scoreboards. I see Ryan Fox bogeyed 18. So we've got O'Hare and Burns at 7 under, and then a 3-shot gap before Rory McIlroy and Ryan Fox. Plenty of Canadians out on the field this afternoon. And our guy, Tommy Fleetwood, again, he's 2 under right now. He's part of this afternoon wave. But Mike Weir at the top of the list right now at 2 under par. Hey, that's probably not a guy we thought would make the cut. It's just a matter of, the guys that we really need. We need Nick Taylor to have a big Friday. We need Mac Hughes. The guys that we sort of were already expecting to make it. Corey Connors, well, hopefully Corey can turn it around. He and Mac are both 1 over right now, but still very early in their round. We saw what Pendy can do on that back 9, so it's about to get down. So, Pat, have a great time tomorrow at the fire me a text and let me know if you want to pop in. I'm probably, Monica and I will do a whole bunch of hockey talk right off the bat. We'll update the leaderboard, and then if we can get a little boots on the ground appearance from the Coolbet gang at the RBC Canadian Open, would absolutely love to do that heading into the weekend. Unfortunately, not there. Maybe we'll get the gang together in Montreal for the President's Cup. I am
that absolutely has to happen.
It has to happen. But in the meantime, check out the exclusives. We'll have our partner parlay on that those shot props coming up. The daily NHL exclusives will be coming up. Obviously, we've got a hoops game tonight. So you can get on that as well. And then after today's round, you can go back and check out more on the Canadian Open over at Coolbet. Patty, have a great time tomorrow, but hopefully we will connect with you from the Hammer.
We will.
Of the RBC.
No doubt about that. We won't be able to find a quiet space, though, Huss.
No.
We're following the featured group, so it's going to be tough. People are going to have to deal with it because I'm not giving my spot up against the rope, following my guy Pendy. Not a chance.
No, definitely. And hey, and shout out my guy Aaron Cockrell if you see him.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to a big one. Plus 110 to make the cut. We're on that one locked in from the exclusives that we're up heading into the tournament. All right,
we won't
gang,
start till
enjoy the game tonight. Shout out to everybody in chat. And we're going to turn it back over to the fellas at ESTHQ as their programming continues. And if you want to join us, we'll have lots going on. NHL, PWHL, CFL. We're actually going to even talk a little auto racing with the guy that runs the Winnipeg Sports Talk car today. We got a packed show coming up on WST on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel at the top of the hour. Otherwise, join myself, Matt Iwanek, tomorrow with a special guest spot live from the course with Pat and the fellas and Coolbet down at the RBC Canadian Open. Back to Iwanek. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow to get ready for Game 5 between the Oilers and Stars.
Thanks, boys. Also tomorrow on the Lock Show, I'll just throw this out there. It's Champions League final on Saturday. Real Madrid and Dortmund. We're going to get into, we have to get at least a couple minutes into that one. There's no question about it. I don't think people could hear, but Haas was just saying to me, perfect timing that I'm coming on tomorrow so we could talk about that. And I heard P. Greg going, yes. So, we're going to have a little bit of Champions League. So that's just too much to get to tomorrow. It's going to be a fun lock shop. Got to do some housekeeping before we get to two guys and a goalie presented by GS Construction. The boys threw out the keyword for the $100,000 hole-in-one contest presented by Golf Town. Swing big this Father's Day and find dad or yourself the perfect gift at Golf Time. Save big with huge deals on on TaylorMade in-store and online now through June 9th. Don't miss their top deals like the TaylorMade Sim2 driver for only $329.98. 25% off all TaylorMade bags, 2 dozen Pro Gen TP5 golf balls for only $80, plus much more this Father's Day. Give the gift of golf. Visit them in-store or at golftown.com for more details. Some exclusions apply. Golftown, your ultimate destination for Father's Day gifts. Congratulations to Roger, who is the qualifier from the Lock Shop today. He'll go in the draw tomorrow morning on the morning show, as they will call someone to let them know that they will be a contestant with a chance to potentially swing for $100,000 July 3rd at the Ranch Golf and Country Club at 7 in the morning, 180 yards out. It's all going to be live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. That's the $100,000 hole-in-one presented by Golf Town. Portions of this hour of the Lock Shop brought to you by the 2024 Holinka Gretzky Cup, which is coming to Edmonton this summer. Rogers Place will host the best U18 hockey players in the world from August 5th through to the 10th. Dustin Nielsen will be on the call with Craig Button as well on TSN. 7-game, 14-game ticket packs available right now. HolinkaGretzkyCup.ca or go to Ticketmaster.ca. We also now have to qualify someone for the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. Lots to get to here in these final few minutes of the Lock Shop. Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, July 12th through the 14th at Kingsman Park. Friday completely sold out, but it was Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis. They're headlining. Saturday, it's Kevin Hart. Sunday, Brooke Kreischer and Whitney Cummings. GreatOutdoorsComedyFestival.com to get your tickets today. June 1st, pricing goes up, so go get them right now for Saturday or for Sunday or for both. Alleycat, the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival here in Edmonton. There is a Great Outdoors Comedy Festival in Winnipeg, so anybody from Winnipeg watching, head to GreatOutdoorsComedyFestival.com for more information on the shows out there. But we're qualifying someone for the VIP table for 4. Kevin Hart, July 13th, Kingsman Park. Text us, Kingsman Park. That's it, 780-218-9999. And you will go into the draw for that VIP table of 4, which we'll give away on June 14th. We'd like to thank Pat Gregoire and Huss for handling the Lock Shop today. Tomorrow, as Huss said, it will be him and I on the show. We'll have an appearance from P. Greggy at the Canadian Open. And there's a lot to get to, including Game 5. We want to talk Game 4, though, of Oilers and Stars. That's up next on Two Guys and a Goalie. Myself, Matt Cassie, Walking Gauge Live, right here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, as well as on YouTube. That's coming up in just a few minutes here on your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Don't go anywhere.